Hi everyone, this is Dr. Balasai, and this video is all about the books to read in first MBBS. So people divide the books into different categories like gold standard book, mediocre category, least standard. But as far as I think, the main aim is to acquire enough knowledge which is helpful for understanding the concepts in paraclinical and clinical subjects later on in the course. So whatever the book you read, it completely depends on you. So it's completely the individual perception whatever the book you read. So finally the concepts are same. You need to understand the concept, you need to demonstrate, you need to define those concepts, you need to explain those concepts, you need to demonstrate those concepts, you need to analyze those concepts. That's what the latest curriculum of the NMC which has been changed of medical curriculum. That's a competency based medical education, which includes not only the theoretical approach towards the subject, the practical approach, which includes analytical methods and also integration, the horizontal and vertical integration of various concepts, subjects, topics, and all. This will help the medical student to acquire enough knowledge to deal with the society outside. So let's go with the routine books which we usually prefer in first professional MBBS. There are three subjects. One is human anatomy. This human anatomy is a science which deals with structure of human body. So it has all the concepts of structural relations, where the organ is located, the blood supply, nerve supply of those organs, and the relation of the organ with the surrounding organs, surrounding system, surrounding structures. So it completely deals with the structure of human body. And human physiology is a science which deals with functions of human body, how different systems are functioning, how respiratory system, digestive system, excretory system, cardiovascular system, and neurological system, how these systems are functioning. All these aspects are learned with this subject called as human physiology. The third subject is biochemistry. So biochemistry is a subject which deals with the chemistry and metabolism of various biomolecules like carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, amino acids, and nucleic acids. It also deals with the chemistry and metabolism of various minerals, vitamins, and also it has concepts related to biotechnology too. So among these three subjects, the biochemistry is relatively a diagnostic subject, and it has many clinical concepts in it too. So among these three subjects, most of the people say human anatomy is the hardest subject because it's completely new, but it's completely conceptual. It's completely conceptual and imaginatory, and you need to analyze the structures, various structures, its relations. It will be helpful for you in understanding the surgical concepts, radiographic concept, topographic concepts, and various other concepts in the medical sciences. So let's deal with the first subject called as human anatomy. So here are the books related to human anatomy. In human anatomy, the first step is to read the Handbook of General Anatomy by B.D. Chaurashia. So this Handbook of General Anatomy has many concepts, many basics of anatomy, many terminologies, and so on, which will be helpful to understand the gross anatomy book much better. So general anatomy book of any author, but B.D. Chaurashia Handbook of General Anatomy is preferred by most of the people. This book is the first book should be read by a medical student before starting their gross anatomy. So this will give you the basics, and this will build your foundation to understand the concepts of human anatomy, the gross anatomy specifically. For the gross anatomy, there are many books, but what most people prefer is B.D. Chaurashia Human Anatomy. There are 4 volumes, which is having different regional anatomies. Volume 1 has upper limb and thorax. Volume 2 has lower limb and abdomen. Volume 3 has head and neck, and Volume 4 has brain and neuroanatomy. These 4 volumes are 4 regional anatomy. This is the most commonly used books for reading gross anatomy. As in every subject, here also this is a gold standard book called as Gray's Anatomy. Gray's Anatomy is a gold standard for human anatomy. So it has subject in more depth, and it is preferred by the people who want to read in depth, who love reading books. They usually prefer Gray's Anatomy. It's a gold standard book for anatomy. One thing is, there is no much details on clinical neuroanatomy or the neuroanatomy in this Grace. So if you are preferring Grace Anatomy, you have to read another book like Vishram Singh's Neuroanatomy. This one, okay, Vishram Singh's Neuroanatomy. So there's also another author books available like Vishram Singh. Okay, Vishram Singh General Anatomy and Gross Anatomy books by the author Vishram Singh are also available in the market. Yeah, these Vishram Singh books are more lucid than BD Chaurasya. That's what I can say. But it completely depends on you which book to read. I mean, which book to choose. Yeah. So this is about the Gross Anatomy books. And regarding the Atlas of Anatomy, this one, so Atlas of Anatomy is very important to understand. I mean, to understand the anatomy concepts in a diagrammatic view. So there are two atlases. One is Netter Atlas and is Themes Atlas. So people can prefer any one atlas. So when you are reading a concept from a Gross Anatomy book, if you compare it with the Atlas of Human Anatomy, it will be more easy to understand and it will give you a pictographic memory of that particular anatomy. So you can prefer any one atlas, either Netter Atlas or Themes Atlas. And next, and there is another subdivision of anatomy called as histology or microscopic anatomy, where you read the microscopic features of different organs and structures. So here the human histology textbook by IB Singh or Inderbir Singh is most commonly preferred book in almost all the institutions. There are also many other books like Vishram Singh's Histology and many other histology textbooks, but most commonly people prefer IB Singh Histology. Yeah. Regarding embryology, there are many books for embryology too, but usually people prefer IB Singh Human Embryology, the same author for histology. But the more gold standard books like Langman's Medical Embryology, this book I came to know recently that this book is more preferred by Amesonians. And there's another gold standard book called as Keith L. Moore author, the Keith L. Moore, The Developing Human. This book is a gold standard book, and if you want more clinical concepts, more depth embryology, this book can be preferred. But most commonly preferred book is IB Singh. Yeah. Regarding the practical manual or the dissection manual, it's a Cunningham manual of practical anatomy, I mean, which will be carried by every first MBBS student. This book has detailed concepts. This book is a detailed step-to-step guide for dissection of cadaver. So you need to have this book before entering into your dissection hall, which will be a session for every 2 hours daily in your med school. So and should you buy this book? I don't think you need to buy this book. I mean, this book has only importance in first year, so you can borrow it from your seniors if possible. So Cunningham mostly used in only first year, so you can borrow it from your senior if you can. Otherwise you can buy it from a online source and offline source. So Cunningham manual for practical anatomy is must and should for doing dissection or for entering into dissection hall, because it is a practical guide which has step-to-step approach of dissection. Yeah, there are 3 volumes of this Cunningham manual. Next subject is human physiology. So human physiology is a science which deals with the functions of human body. The gold standard book is Genong Review of Medical Physiology, but this book is not much preferred by most of the students as far as I know. Guyton and Hall Medical Physiology is also a relatively gold standard book, and it is also preferred by most of the students. And as far as I prefer AK Jain, because it is more lucid compared to those books. It do also have the similar concepts, may not be so depth as those books have, but it is enough for acquiring the required knowledge from physiology. So AK Jain, and if you want to explore other books too, CC Chatterjee volume 1 volume 2 of human physiology are available. So this is also another good book with quite good concepts. And the last resort book usually students of South India do prefer is Sembulingam. This book is like a last resort for exams. Whenever whenever your syllabus is not completed, just before the exams, this book is very lucid, very easy to study, but not much conceptual. It just will be useful for writing your theoretical exams. And for practicals of physiology, the practical manual or the record book which will be given by your university is much more than enough. But if you want to explore more, you can get a look into this textbook of practical physiology by GK Pal, which do have concepts in more detail, more medical content, more clinical content in that. in depth. So you can choose this book if you want to purchase it. Otherwise, the practical manual or the record book given by the university is much more than enough for physiology practicals. Regarding biochemistry, there are many books for biochemistry too. The most preferred, I mean, the gold standard book for biochemistry is Harper's Illustrated Biochemistry 31st edition is available, which was the latest edition. And this Harper's textbook of biochemistry is a gold standard book for biochemistry. It do have a lot of clinical approach towards biochemistry. So if you are interested in biochemistry, if you love to go into the depth of biochemistry, you can prefer this book. And a similar book which do also have good clinical concept is DM Vasudevan, and relative mediocre book is the U Satyanarayana textbook of biochemistry, which is mostly used by the most of the people, and it is having a lucid language, not much conceptual, but it is very lucid to understand. So this is another book which is usually preferred by most of the students for reading biochemistry. So these are the various textbooks of biochemistry available, the best ones. Even regarding the practicals, the practical manual or the record book given by the university is much more than enough for biochemistry. I mean, you don't need to purchase another practical guide for biochemistry, because the record book is much more than enough for biochemistry. Yeah. Finally, the one single note is, while you are purchasing any medical textbooks, prefer latest editions, because these medical textbooks are usually, I mean, most of the people, I mean, they will be there with you for long period of times, PG preparations or for understanding any concepts, for as a review books. It will be useful for you even after your first year. So prefer latest editions if you're planning to purchase any medical books. And finally, yeah, all the best. This is all about this video. Finally, the summary is, there are many medical textbooks in the market. There are many authors who introduce their books in the market, but it's up to you. You are the one who has to decide which book you want to read. How, if you ask me how, yeah, many websites have preview chapters, so you can look into them. You can compare the preview chapters of different textbooks, and whichever you feel more comfortable, whichever you feel more informative, and whichever you don't think much complicated for you, you can easily read it. Or yeah, whichever the book you feel much comfortable, you can prefer that book. Yeah, finally, all the best. Thank you for watching. Please do like, subscribe and share this video, and click the bell icon for the notifications for further content. Thank you so much.